Hi folks, and welcome to this episode of The Art of Engineering. It is the beginning of the holidays and it's been a slow start. We all know this time of year is crazy busy, getting together with friends, too much, way too much. So up until now, a little bit's happened in the shack, but really not enough. And on a recent QSO, I did notice that the performance of the NFED half wave was starting to become a bit of a problem. So it was time to get up on the roof and have a look at the usual culprit, which is that 49-to-1 UNUN. In the past, we've had ants eat through it with formic acid. We've had water in there. I really should think about re-engineering that setup so that there's less connectors on it and there's less things that can go wrong, and it's more encapsulated, more weatherproof. But that's for another time. But we did get up on the roof and have a look. And so this episode is going to be quite a bit of antenna maintenance and antenna testing and all that good stuff. So it's not going to be a long one, but stick around, have a look at the Mayhem as it unfolds. Let's go. We just finished a QSO with Jordan VK3 ACU, a little CW QSO. It's Sunday morning, and we have one antenna that's operational, the vertical L, which seems to be always reliable. Common current choke that's built into that antenna. I actually ran the coax through that current choke, so there's no connectors. So there's very little stuff that's out in the weather. So it's been very, very reliable as an antenna. It operates best on 20 and 40 meters. It can operate at 20-40 without any antenna tuner intervention. But the NFED half wave does require quite a bit of servicing, part and parcel of how poorly I've built this stuff that's out in the weather. And also, our friends the Cockatoos seem to like to come and have a chew on stuff as well. So they're keeping me honest. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-solder all these connectors with, I've got a high power iron here, and that's been a bit of a game changer in so much it helps me make a good connection. But we had some rather extensive corrosion on the main connector, the main BNC. It was dead, and you can see here that we had some dissimilar metal galvanic type corrosion. The engineering teacher in me loves this stuff. So this obviously was more active, and it's been acting as a sacrificial anode. And when I went to undo it, it just basically snapped because it was extensively corroded. Actually, that's the old BNC. Check that out. You can see a lot of dissimilar metal corrosion. There was quite a bit of oxides built up around the connector too, and I think we had a little bit of shorting from the active to the earth on the actual connector as well. So it was, for a little while now, that antenna's been down on performance and getting worse and worse, and today it was completely out of action. Great time to replace the connector with our new BNC and resolder everything. And there is a capacitor that goes in here, a high voltage capacitor that needs replacing as well. So I'll find the value of that, and if I've got any of those, I'll put that in as well. Now, you may remember a previous repair video on this 49-to-1 UNUN. The ants had gotten in here and eaten through the wiring, and it kept going for quite a while. And then when it finally failed, I took it apart, and as I touched the wiring, it was so honeycombed by the formic acid from the ants, it just shattered. So that was quite interesting. We need to make sure we get all of these connections really nice and tight so they don't spin around in the weather.
That way they are.
Connector is tight. We'll get some solder in there. So these are the capacitors with working voltages up in the kilovolts, which is what we need, because the voltage antinodes on an UNUN are extremely high. You can't just chuck any capacity you want in there. Okay, the recommendation for this type of antenna is 100 to 150 most commonly. I'm going to chuck a couple of these in series. That gets me to 156 picofarads. And then I'll run the nano VNA on the antenna and just see what my SWRs are doing. Okay. So much stuff that was supposed to be UV resistant is so not UV stable. So you just, basically buying crap from Bunnings that you know is going to fail in a year or two. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking stainless steel wire might be worth the effort. We should get this over here. Good, I'm enjoying it. I've got Monday, Tuesday, just professional development, which is why I'm letting my wife down. Because any other day I could have just said, "Oh, I'll just take a carer's day." But if I miss the CPR training, I have to. Thank you so much. It's all right. So, vertical L hasn't given me any problems. And this is our end fed halfway that goes from the front of the house over to here. And that is our 49 to 1 UNUN reinstalled. And this box here is the magic box, the magic switch that switches out this UNUN. It makes this 80 meter end fed quarter wave at 160 meters. And then we have this ground array that allows me to get the antenna resonant on 160 meters. It's ready-made ground plane, metal roof. Okay, folks, this is the 80 meter band, and at the very bottom of the band 3.5, we've got 1:1.59, so very usable SWR. It goes all the way down to 1:1.03 at about 3.614, sorry. And then as we head up to the 3.8 at the far end of the band, the SWR climbs, but it only climbs up to a 1:1.91. So all below 2, very usable SWR. We don't even have to touch it up with the ATU. Well, I would like to say that everything went to plan. That would be what I'd like to say. But everything did not go to plan, as is indicated by the mess that is in the operating position when it shouldn't be, because I've got a lovely test bench that I've pimped up, and that's in a previous video. But unfortunately, when I started testing my SWRs with the Nano, I realized that I needed to do some adjustments to the antenna length. So we did some adjustments, actually went to the front, and I will show you what I did out the front. So we've added some antenna here, which I don't like to do because it's very close to the roof. It's probably going to arc, but we'll leave that for the time being, and we'll add some more at the other end. Add a little bit of length to it because my resonant frequency was a little bit high on the 40 meter band. So I thought if I add a bit of length there, it'll muck up 80 meters a little bit, but it'll still keep me within viable SWR, and it'll get a viable SWR on 40, because the plan is to try and get this antenna where I have an SWR of 2 or below in the lower ends of the band where I tend to operate FT8 and CW. And so that I don't have to use a tuner, I would really love to be able to switch over the end-fed half wave and do 20, 40, and 80, and any other bands that behave, that's a bonus. And with the vertical L, of course, we want it to work on 20 and 40, which it already does. So that antenna has been great. The end-fed half wave, we've had some issues, and we continue to have issues. So it's been a lot more maintenance heavy, probably because of the UNUN and the weather and the flying wire cutters that are the Cockatoos. So we got the setup. I was looking at VSWR through my Hermes light, and all sorts of weird things were happening, and found out that I'd managed to knock a connector off inside here. My dodgy soldering just kept letting go in different places. Then I lost the 20-meter band. There was weird stuff going on there, so I checked, and a wire had popped off on the 20-meter band on the switch for selection. So we soldered that in position, and then we still didn't have 20 meters, and I'm just pulling what's left out of my hair out, which is not very much. And I thought I was going crazy, but in the end, what ended up happening was somehow something must have pressed up against one of the little fine connectors in the switch and pushed it out of position. So I had to do some mechanical manipulation of the switch, and finally 20 meters came to life, and the amplifier is working. This amplifier here, I was transmitting into an open load, and probably 40-something watts, and I still managed to not destroy those MOSFET transistors, which I got through mini kits. So they've been, without protection, just amazingly resilient and providing 40 to 45 watts from the 10-meter band right down to the 160-meter band. So amazing ability to transmit it virtually the same amount across quite a wide bandwidth, which you don't normally find with your IRF 510s. And usually with my IRF 510 investigations, open load, transmitting into an open or a short usually results in it exploding in my face. So I'm very impressed by these transistors. And if you want to try them out, if you buy one of those cheap amplifiers from China and the LD MOS that it ships with is crap, or it explodes on you, you might want to try popping a couple of these in. It probably gives you about half of the 100 watts you were expecting, but reliable and seems to work really well. I've checked it for harmonics. I built low pass filters for each band, and it looks clean. And thus far, I've been having a great old time with this amplifier. And there's that satisfaction of something that you've built, or at least had a good amount of hand in the building of. So I would just thoroughly recommend people having a go at building their own stuff. You learn a lot along the way, and when stuff's up, you're quite confident to go in there and have a crack at fixing it as well, which is also a learning experience. I'm learning a lot about how slapdash I am in my construction techniques and how I need to improve that. But also it sort of reminds you of how to find your own way around your equipment. I'm so intimately involved with a lot of this gear now that even though I haven't kept good records and good schematics and everything else, I kind of can find my way around inside it because I built it. We have calibrated the SWR meter, and we are on the 3.5 megahertz. We're at 3.514, which is roughly in the center of where I probably want to operate CW. Close enough, and pretty good broad band coverage on this band anyway. And so we'll have a look at the SWR. It is minute, and I'll give you forward power. There's my forward power, about 45 watts, and there's my reverse power, virtually nothing. 40 meters. This is the SWR. Hardly moves the meter at all. That's forward power. That's reverse power. Incidentally, that was at about 702.3. So 14 megs. Let's go to about let's say 14.19. Let's jump the switch over. So we're on the 20 meter band for the low pass filter. Let's hit transmit and hit cal, get ourselves calibrated. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, SWR. I'm hoping this is okay. It's over 2 and a bit, but it's not in the red zone, so it's not horrendous. The Hermes light's only seeing 1.3 is to 1. That's so between the Hermes and the amp, we've got a reasonable SWR coming out the other end. It's a little bit higher than I would like. Now, can I touch that up on my antenna tuner? That is the $64 million question. I certainly can. So forward power, reverse power, SWR. So we can tweak it. 40, 20, 80, end-fed half wave. Beautiful. Let's just have a look at a few of the other bands, just for argument's sake. We haven't had a look at our 60 meter band. We can't operate on 60 meters. So it's lucky I didn't hit transmit, because of course 60 meters in Australia, and I'm pretty sure the Hermes will stop me from doing that anyway because I've got it set up for Australian band plans. Let's try the 30 meter band.
Hermes doesn't mind, but SWR's out as well.
So that is the 30 meter band, 10 megs, 10.109. It's about 1.5:1. That's tweaked with the tuner. Unusable SWR without the tuner, which is not that unexpected. Let's try and see what happens on the 17 meter band.
Well, thanks for sticking around right to the end of the video. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of that tuning up. We managed to get an SWR that was okay on all of the bands, except for the 10 meter band, which I can tune on the vertical L. So pretty good across the board. And I could also get onto 20, 40, 80, and even 15 meters without an ATU with an acceptable SWR. So I'm pretty pleased with all of that. Now, if there's any topic you'd like me to cover in the upcoming videos, please drop it in the comment section below. The sound on this end bit of the video is probably going to be really crap because the batteries in the microphone have gone flat. And I've got one microphone that's left that's working, but hopefully we can fix it in Premiere Pro. So we'll see how good I am at editing in Premiere Pro when it comes to audio, cleaning up audio. We might even use the artificial evil brain. Might as well get some use out of it before it destroys the entire planet. 7-3, and I shall see you in the next episode. Hopefully some homebrew. Homebrew videos don't seem to get a lot of views. So you can tell that these videos are being made largely for your amusement if you're into homebrew, and certainly my amusement and my education as well. And homebrew might be a niche area, but I think it's a great area to explore for ham radio. 7-3, if I haven't said it already, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Art of Engineering.